Today I'm chatting with Brett Riddington, General Manager Cosmetics at David Jones. Hi Brett.
Good morning, Jackie.
What's the sale clearance time like in the cosmetics department?
Well, it's grown over time. There was once a time when there wasn't a lot of cosmetics involved. It was just a gift with purchase here or there, or a value set here and there. We still have all those, but there's quite a number of brands now that choose where they've got discontinued products. They use this time of year to clear through them. And there's also brands that were in our body and soul department that use this time of year to go off price for a limited period of time to attract people to their brand and then hopefully hold on to them.
Do you think beauty shoppers are definitely enticed to spend more and buy more at this time of year?
Cosmetics is one of those businesses that is spread reasonably evenly through the year, because right through the year, a lot of the bigger brands do their gift with purchase promotions, so that keeps their customers coming in at different times, and we phase that calendar so that we have big promotions running through the year. And of course, Christmas is crazy, particularly in fragrances, but for many of the brands now as well. But yeah, there's a lot of shoppers, and we take advantage, of course, that cosmetics is on the ground floor in a great spot, and all those customers rushing by, hopefully will stop and buy cosmetics on the way through or on the way out of the store.
How much do you think the beautiful environment of David Jones' ground floor has an impact on people wanting to purchase?
Oh, an enormous impact. I mean, it's a world famous store and has been for so long. And so I know, people, customers and friends who say they just love going into the store. They just love standing on that ground floor before they take their journey through the store. And cosmetics, of course, is fortunate enough to have prime space there, as well as on the lower ground, because of the size of our cosmetics in Elizabeth Street store.
When did it grow from the ground floor to the other areas?
Back in 2004, we undertook a major refurbishment of the ground floor and the lower ground floor in Elizabeth Street for the cosmetics and also the accessories brands. Cosmetics there is now 2,500 square metres of space. And has an equal amount of space on the ground and the lower ground. And they're two very different environments. One is more an open environment on the lower ground floor, our body and soul department, and some of the other specialist brands and services like Dermalogica, Ella Bache and their services, OPI, and the nail spa. And we're also looking forward to Westfield, opening next door later this year, which will of course feed even more customers through onto our lower ground floor.
You've been in the industry quite a long time. Tell me a bit about how this all started for you.
Long time. So in and around the cosmetics, I suppose, for nearly 30 years. I started my career as a department store cadet, so I started off on the shop floor learning, all the basics, selling, merchandising, customer service. And then I suppose grew through the store management stream. I was a store manager in my younger days. And so I was in that side of retail for 14 years, and then I had the opportunity to join Estee Lauder companies. And I was with Estee Lauder companies for 14 years, so I was general manager of Clinique. And then general manager of Estee Lauder brand, as well as also all the fragrance portfolio for Estee Lauder companies in Australia. And a great company, great experiences. You get to travel the world and see cosmetics around the world. And obviously learned a lot about that in terms of brand management and managing. As a general manager of a brand, you get to look after not just the sales, but all the training reports through to you, the marketing, the PR. So it's really good in terms of pushing all the buttons and getting to push all the buttons with a cosmetics business. And then the opportunity came to work with David Jones just over 3 years ago, which has gone very quickly. And I thought that was a great opportunity to bring all that together, my retail experience from stores, the brand management, and then to work for David Jones, which is such a great company, and also world famous again, all those categories, not just cosmetics, and then add the buying, and so having the buying responsibility, where we've got nearly 200 cosmetics and fragrance and makeup brands. And at any given time, about 16,000 different products available for customers that we reorder all the time, and probably another 2,000 or 3,000 that are promotional items that we've got at any one time. So getting to that's sort of the path, and I really feel that I've had the good fortune to be able to be experienced in all the parts that make up the cosmetics business that your customer sees in store.
What do you see as being the sort of key factors in getting a brand successfully into David Jones?
Well, we've had many, many good experiences. And if you just think of some of the brands that have made David Jones their platform, it's been their platform in Australia. If you think of Napoleon Purtis or La Mer, Sisley, if you think of La Prairie, and go through a whole host, Joe Malone, Tom Ford, all of those great brands, Shimura, all have made David Jones their home. It might sound easy, but it's quite complex. I mean, when you've got 200 brands and 16,000 lines, we already have a great deal of knowledge about what works and doesn't work in a cosmetic department, because we have the information there constantly. So we have a good understanding of what's working, what's not. We now, especially with websites, we're quite attuned to what the trends are around the world, and as well as getting to travel occasionally. So I suppose we then understand what are the gaps in our ranging from that analysis. So we are on the lookout for particular brands and particular segments of the market. And so we know when a brand comes along, or we approach a brand, that there's a good fit. Yeah. And then we've got to assess, sometimes it takes a couple of years for us to get together with a brand and actually then launch it in the store. Sometimes it takes days, yeah. Depending on the brand and the opportunity. And it's not just about the product either. I mean, the product, if we're going to add something to the range, then it needs to add something unique to what we already have that will make it more successful, and needs to be on trend and at the right price. But more than that, when we've got new brands coming on board, we spend a lot of time trying to understand what's their overall strategy, longer term. What else is coming down the pipeline besides what we're seeing now? What are they going to do with their marketing? What are they going to do with their PR? What are the resources of that brand or that company to be able to service 35 stores in David Jones and keep growing? So some of them are no-brainers. Some of them you see, yep, fine, let's go tomorrow. Others take more time to really work up to find the right time to launch a brand, and some don't make it because we don't see that it adds something incremental to what we've already got, because it's not just about new, though new is crucial in a very dynamic cosmetics market. It's also about growing and protecting the brands we've already brought into the business and are building and have invested in.
Do a number of small brands come to you and you know straight away you haven't got a chance here, or do you literally look at every proposal that comes through and seriously consider? Yeah,
we get lots of proposals. I take our body and soul department. Mm-hmm. So our body and soul has grown to be a collection of 70 brands now in store, that's in that open service environment at medium price point. And our buyer, George Bingham, for that area would get 12 to 15 proposals every week. So obviously he doesn't meet face to face with all those 12 to 15. He's able to, he gets presentations sent through so he can at least understand the product. He's probably already researched it anyway, because for him, being in tune with what's happening worldwide is important. So from his point of view, he'll then read through and he'll then edit out of all those 12 to 15, he might see one. But he'll go back to all of them and say, look, I don't think so at this time for this reason, or because we've already got so-and-so and it doesn't offer the differentiation, but keep in touch. Yeah. And for the other one, we then would take that one that might make it through. We'll then go through a more in-depth process of understanding them and then what the opportunity is.
Do you think you could miss a good brand through a bad presentation?
I don't think so. I think that I'm very lucky to have a very experienced cosmetic team. So I think they know from their knowledge of what's out there and being able to see a product, understand the price, what is in the technology. If we don't get what we want from the presentation, we'll ask the questions and we know what questions to ask. So I doubt it would come, we'd miss a brand from a bad presentation. I think we'd be able to cut through that.
Is there sometimes an occasion where you actively seek a brand?
Many times, because we understand what is working. Both in Australia, and I'll talk about Australian brands in a minute, but overseas, there's been many brands where we've been in contact and possibly been in contact for years, and there's some at the moment, that I'm in contact for that I've been in contact for a while, knowing that it may take some time, and for some of those brands, they may have never been in a department store before. Like Dermalogica that we've just brought in the last couple of years in quite a unique partnership. Took a few years of discussions to actually have them convinced that Australia would be the first department store in the, David Jones in Australia would be the first department store in the world that they come into. So it takes a little. Then with the Australian brands, that's lots of fun. You know, you've really seen some great Australian brands grow up over the last few years. And if you think of Napoleon Purtis today in our stores and how big a business it is, and what a force of nature the brand is, and Napoleon is, to where it was, you know, 6 or 7 years ago when we started that relationship. When you look at brands like Kin and Alchemy in our Body and Soul, a great organic skincare brand at medium price points. Brands like Aesop, that have grown up recently, and Ultraceuticals with Dr. Jeffrey Heber. You know, all of those have been able to grow up from nothing, or practically nothing in our environments, to be really strong brands today.
Brett, it's been really interesting to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure. Thank
Thanks.
you, Jackie.